But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity.
President Obama and British Prime Minister Gordon today calling for a new world order to tackle our global economic crisis.
In this new century, Americans and Europeans alike will be required to do more, not less. Partnership and cooperation among nations is not a choice. It is the only way, the one way, to protect our common security and advance our common humanity.
The murals located in the airport are the most notable features of this airport. The main mural stretches over 4 walls. There is a dedication stone in the airport that mentions the New World Airport Commission. However, there is no such thing. The New World Airport Commission is made up and was never created. One can only assume that it is alluding to the New World Order. The first mural here shows 3 dead women, an African, a Native American, and a young Jewish girl. In the background, we can see the destruction of a city and a forest. This attempts to show the destruction of the world. The second mural shows a huge military figure wearing a gas mask and holding a machine gun and a sword. This sword is stabbing a dove, which is the symbol for peace, and implies that peace will be destroyed. One can also see a line of weeping women holding their dead infants, and a group of dead children on a pile of bricks. The emphasis of this mural is of a cleansing that is going to kill a myriad of people in its path. The third mural shows all of the children of the world taking their weapons from each country and giving them to a German boy, who is then molding them into something else. The main emphasis of this mural is to show the return of peace. The final mural has a Jesus-like figure in the middle, who is holding a plant which symbolizes rebirth. All of the people are running towards this man with happy expressions. This final mural alludes to a new Garden of Eden, where the world is perfect size, and everything could work together in peace after the genocide that has taken place. All in all, these murals, when put together, represent the formation of a new world filled with fewer people, and this is also the goal of the New World Order, which has been seen represented throughout various parts of the airport.
Jacques Cousteau said we'd have to eliminate 350,000 people a day. A third of 1 million people a day would have to be eliminated to save Mother Earth. Bill Clinton said we need to reduce the population of the Earth to 1 billion. There are a lot of folks who would like to reduce the population of the Earth.
That's one of my favorite quotes too, Cinda, that a significant portion of the Earth's population will soon recognize, if they haven't already done so, that humanity is now faced with a stark choice: evolve or die.
Now please, tell me, why have you come to our planet?
Your planet?
Yes, this is our planet.
No, it is not.
I need to get back to the city.
After you tell me what's going on.
He's one of them.
Please get in the car. I need to know what's happening.
This planet is dying. The human race is killing it.
So you've come here to help us?
No, I didn't.
You said you came to save us.
I said I came to save the Earth.
You came to save the Earth. From us. You came to save the Earth. From us.
We can't risk the survival of this planet for the sake of one species.
What are you saying?
If the Earth dies, you die. If you die, the Earth survives. There are only a handful of planets in the cosmos that are capable of supporting complex life.
You can't do this.
This one can't be allowed to perish.
We can change. We could still turn things around.
We've watched, we've waited and hoped that you would change.
Please.
It's reached the tipping point. We have to act.
Please.
We'll undo the damage you've done and give the Earth a chance to begin again.
Don't do this. Please. We could change. We can change.
The decision is made. The process has begun.
Oh, God.
Aleister Crowley taught that a global massacre would be necessary to bring about the New Age. He wrote, "There is a magical operation of maximum importance, the initiation of a new eon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood. Before man is ready to accept the law of Thelema, or will, the great war must be fought. This bloody sacrifice is the critical point of the world ceremony of the crowned and conquering child as Lord of the Eon."
Over and over again in satanic music and so forth, but even more importantly in regard to the New Age movement, In the early 1900s, Aleister Crowley was talking about the new eon. Ionis is a Greek word for age, and the new eon being the new age. And what's interesting about Crowley's emphasis on the new age, it had everything to do with what became popular in the 1960s.
In his shocking 10-hour documentary, They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll, Pastor Joe Schimmel exposes the role of music in furthering the New Age through the 1960s counterculture movement and reveals Aleister Crowley as the patron saint of rock musicians.
I can't think of any other occultist who's been more influential on rock musicians than Aleister Crowley, no one close. London Times called Crowley the unsung hero of the 1960s. In fact, if you look at the 1960s counterculture leaders, John Lennon, he said his whole philosophy was, and he quoting Aleister Crowley's axiom, "Do what thou wilt," was the whole Beatles philosophy, he said in his interviews before his death was, "Do what thou willst." And they put their heroes up on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album, and who did they place there? Aleister Crowley. In fact, that whole album, as we show in our rockumentary, was basically a tribute to Crowley's New Eon, along with their Satanic Majesty's Request by the Stones that the Beatles put out with Sgt. Pepper. In fact, we make a really clear case for Sgt. Pepper being Crowley. In fact, Crowley died 20 years before that album came out. And, of course, the song 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play.
It was 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play.
It's quite interesting because not only was Lennon and the Beatles into Aleister Crowley, but we show the Rolling Stones and how they were into Crowley, and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards helping out with even Kenneth Anger's movies pushing Aleister Crowley's Satanism in Lucifer Rising and so forth. So you have the Stones, you have the Beatles, the two biggest rock bands of the 1960s. You have Jim Morrison with a bust of Aleister Crowley, the biggest American rock idol of the 60s, on his album 13. We can go on and on. Led Zeppelin, the biggest band of the 1970s. Jimmy Page buying Aleister Crowley's mansion overlooking Loch Ness, being full on into Aleister Crowley, using implements of his temple on the Presence album on the front cover, as Crowley talked about in his books on ritual magic, and even down to his symbol, Zoso, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, which is really soul spelled forward and soul spelled backwards of the solar god. Sol was S-O-L, the god of, or Satan, in Crowley's books. It was another symbol of Satan, S-O-L. And that was Jimmy Page's occult symbol that he used that nobody could decipher. And recently in Rolling Stone magazine interview in 2002, they all came out and said what their symbol meant, except Page still wouldn't come out and say what his meant. Crowley said to write backwards and forward. If you look at that symbol closely, it's soul, forward and backwards. So that's still not known to even the rock world what that symbol was, but Jimmy Page has admitted being an admirer of Crowley, practicing Crowley's magic for power and so forth, and they became very powerful. These bands sold their soul for rock and roll, so to speak.
You gotta save yourself, ain't nobody gonna do for you. You gotta save yourself, ain't nobody gonna do for you. Yeah, you may believe in devils and you may believe in laws, but Christ, you're gonna have to save yourself, and that's all there is to it. So get right back here, and it's in the bloody fridge.